In this programme, we look at how Arsenal Football Club helped develop literacy skills in a North London classroom. And at the Matthew Arnold School in Surrey, we explore how a mentoring scheme and preferred learning style assessments are challenging the gender gap difference at GCSE results.
Over the period of time that I've been working on boys' achievement, I identified what I consider to be the main barriers to boys' learning. There's been, you see, a tendency to think, well, it's either the teaching and learning styles or it's the laddish culture. I would say it's both.
North London Boys' School St Aloysius has a firm commitment to challenging laddish culture.
We in this school, we challenge bad behaviour. When the present headmaster came here 3 years ago, this school was in special measures, and there was a substantial amount of bad behaviour around the corridors, on the playground, occasionally even in classrooms. And the headmaster took that behaviour on. He saw parents, he sent boys home, boys were challenged constantly. Now, 3 years later, that barely happens anymore. Politeness is insisted upon. If a child is rude, he's challenged over it. If a child is naughty, he's excluded or he's included in the learning support centre, or his parents are brought up and they are challenged about it as well. We believe that we're taking young people from often poor, disadvantaged backgrounds and turning them into people who can compete in our society. And to me, it's about equality. We don't accept the fact that in middle-class schools that those children have the skills of politeness, have the social skills in order to do well, but the children from our school can't. So what we're doing in trying to give them social skills, in trying to make them behave in a mannerly fashion, is actually enabling them to compete with their better off peers in their future. It's not because we are somehow obsessed with good manners, it's because it's about equality. We want our children to do well and to succeed as they get older. So academic performance and positive attitudes go hand in hand.
The reason that Matthew Arnold is so committed to raising boys' achievement in particular is because there's about a 9% gap between what boys are achieving and girls are achieving at GCSE.
My mum said the breakthrough programme's sexist because girls should be able to get it as well, because there's girls underachieving as well.
I think that a number of our girls are disadvantaged because of boys, to be honest, not just of boys, but disadvantaged by boys that don't want to work.
I believe that if we're actually looking at the way in which boys behave, their attitude, we're going to have an impact on their performance. But more significantly, perhaps, for many, is that we're also going to have an impact on girls too, because it tends to be, in many classrooms, shall we say, not all, the boys that are demanding most of the teachers' attention, taking up a lot of their time, and behaving in ways that are detrimental to their own learning, but not only to their own learning, but also to the learning of others.
Of course, girls can distract boys as well, says Tom, a pupil on the Breakthrough programme.
And there's this girl at the weekend. And then, I don't do this. I've completely gone nuts about her already. And I've met her once. This is going to sound so cliche, but she's too cool for me. She actually is. I'm way in over my head. Somewhere up there, probably. Out of my league completely.
I think it's difficult as a teacher, aside from me at the moment, to sometimes see the boys behind the boys. I'd like every single member of staff in this school to see every boy as an individual.
As part of discovering the individual, Matthew Arnold are developing a mentoring scheme for the cohort of boys involved with their Raising Achievement programme. This process involves undertaking a multiple intelligence profile to assess their preferred learning styles.
You tell me something about you, because normally I see you in the science setting in the classroom. So just tell me a little bit about you, yourself and your interests.
Where do I start? My main interest
What
is
sparks you in life? What brings you to life? The band, yes.
Band, music, mostly my music. Music and art.
If you wanted to use multiple intelligences for mentoring, then there's a couple of ways that it can be very valuable. The first is that a multiple intelligence profile established early on actually accelerates your knowledge of somebody. The second way is that it's a map for progress. Boys can be thought of as having slightly different brain wiring to girls. Boys at secondary school are generally doers and talkers, and girls at secondary school are generally sitters and writers and listeners.
I like English, but I'm not very good at it. That's why I don't like it. I don't really like essays. They write 2 or 3 lines and they say write an essay on that. I just can't work it out.
One of the things about multiple intelligences theory is that it defines what you're good at. Now, the education system is largely geared to you express what you know through the linguistic intelligence, either by writing it or speaking it. But the theory of multiple intelligences would imply that there are alternate and equally valuable ways of showing what you know.
Which subject do you struggle with the most?
English.
English. And what kind of reasons do you think that might be? Because you need to kind of think about ideas to develop.
Can't write essays.
Okay.
And they give you like 3 lines of work and I can't do it. I just can't.
As part of assessing appropriate learning styles, the mentoring sessions are used to discuss a boy's personal barriers to higher achievement and how they might be overcome. For Nathan, his ICT teacher Simon Whittington suggests using mind mapping to help him write his essays.
Did you know that?
Oh, no, I didn't know.
You know when you do your export to HTML?
All right, yeah.
You can export to Word.
Oh, that's good.
The multiple intelligence profiles appear to suggest that many boys showing low attainment levels in the core subjects often demonstrate a high kinesthetic intelligence.
Bodily kinesthetic intelligence is to do with your ability to control things with your body and also to control your body itself. If you're going to use that for learning, then you'll want things to handle and touch, and you'll want the opportunity to move your body. Quite often, that's something that's denied to us when we're in lessons.
This preference for practical rather than theoretical work often makes PE a firm favourite. Science, though, could also be more physically engaging, suggests Scott, who shows a high bodily kinesthetic intelligence in his MI questionnaire.
You know, it is made in PE as far as you're concerned. The connections are there, yeah? Okay. Anything else?
In science, I like doing experiments, but we don't do that many.
Right.
But that's the main thing that I like in science.
Yeah. Is there anything in your maths lessons you enjoy?
I don't enjoy it.
You can be honest.
It's not much practical, is it? It's just thinking, using your brain.
Yeah, that's right.
Meanwhile, Simon demonstrates some mind map software to Nathan, hoping that its visual form will help him structure his essays and develop his linguistic intelligence.
Okay, so there it is in Word for you, ready to start working. It's got your mind map there for you.
Yeah.
And Teams is your first branch, with all your sub-branch headings here.
Yeah.
So then all you simply do is space down.
Back at St Aloysius, Danny is welcoming the boys to another day.
That's Albanian. That's a hard language to learn, Albanian.
Meanwhile, Jerome is undertaking a multiple intelligence evaluation which highlights his strong musical ability.
The musical rhythmic intelligence, that's to do with your appreciation of music. It's your ability to think in sounds. It's to do with composing, singing, keeping a rhythm, all sorts of things that are related to the concept of music.
When I go to school in the morning, the thing what I look forward to is like English, maths, arts and drum club and music.
Let's start again. A little slow, yes? Okay. Here we go. Hold it a little longer. Yes, let's do it. Good. Which hand do you play melody lines with? Left hand or right hand?
The whole ethos at St Aloysius is underpinned by a desire to match teaching and learning styles within the context of a spiritual atmosphere.
The last Ofsted we had, the Ofsted inspectors highlighted the level of spirituality as being almost the best they'd ever seen. It's hard to define what that means in practice, but I would argue it's in terms of the children are looked after here, they're happy here, they have respect for one another here, and there is the atmosphere where they can learn. It's very difficult to come up with an answer to solve the problems of boys underachieving in the Western world. I would say that all our families share a desire for their children to do well. Not all of them have the wherewithal or the ability in order to translate that into practice. We have a lot of West African boys here, and they seem to be families who have a tight unit at home, and consequently support for the boys who do very, very well.
I've, over the period of time that I've been working on boys' achievement, identified what I consider to be the main barriers to boys' learning, around about 30 of them. A significant proportion, say about a third, are related to literacy issues.
Very patient.
I believe at the moment we're forcing boys to read and write before they're physically and emotionally ready to do so, and giving them a very early taste of failure.
What shots in particular?
The Arsenal Double Club at St Aloysius was set up to help boys overcome the impact of earlier failures. Freddie struggled with literacy in conventional classes, but the atmosphere, small class environment and football bias materials seem to have helped.
Don't really like stuff with reading or writing. A lot of writing, I don't really like that. Like English. Double clubs made me better at reader though. Nah, I'm better. All the work involves football, then you concentrate more because after there's like class ratings, and if you get lower than a 6, yeah, and then you don't do football, so everybody tries their hardest.
I think the football is the main thing. I think that's why he loves the double club. But he really does well there, you know, because he's learnt a lot. And he couldn't read at all only 2 years ago. He used to have 1-to-1, didn't he? Or was it 2-to-1, something, tuition? But now, he reads the paper like I do.
I mean, the whole purpose of the double club is for boys in years 7 and 8. And what we do is we follow a Key Stage 3 curriculum in both English and maths. The difference being is that we use football as our learning tool.
What exactly is an adjective? Hands up. You should all have your hands in the air. Yeah, good. It's a describing word or a descriptive word.
I've had conversation with teachers from other schools about the Arsenal Double Club, and they often say to me, well, why is it that football can impact so much on the boys' learning, and do you think it's a good idea that they should be missing some other curriculum time in order to go to the double club and then have this football session? And what I always say to them is that it's all about being on a level with the boys. The boys enjoy football, therefore that is something that needs to be tapped into. If you stick an Arsenal programme in front of a boy, they will read it.
A lot of boys are thinking, actually, reading is something for girls, really, particularly fiction. And they think it's this kind of mystery that girls and women have that they're not part of. And it makes them feel quite stupid, so a lot tend to shy away from it. The fact that a lot of boys have just been read to by mum at home, that doesn't help either. And the fact that, you know, if they've seen older males reading, they've just seen them reading a newspaper, an instruction manual, it's no wonder they're completely hooked on flicking through the Guinness Book of Records when they get to the library. I mean, I banned the Guinness Book of Records in my library because I was sick to death of seeing that. We need to develop boys as reflective learners, and for that purpose, they need to be reading fiction. And for that purpose, we need to be building in more and more reflection time into our lessons with them. The plenary is absolutely vital for boys.
He always liked to listen to books. When Harry Potter came out, I read him a chapter each night, and he was very interested in that, but not to read it himself.
Generally, I've found boys will engage more with visual material. So, for example, they're more likely to engage with a graphic novel version of Twelfth Night rather than the actual play script.
Like when Dennis Bergkamp left Arsenal, we done a paper about Dennis Bergkamp's career. Before, we done something about when Italy won the World Cup, like the front of the newspaper. You have to write the sun in bubble writing, then you have to write a big heading in bubble writing, and then you have to colour it in, then you have to write big page full of writing, and it's got two little pictures where you, two little squares, and you could put pictures in of when Italy won the World Cup.
If you talk to Freddie, Freddie knows everything about Arsenal. He knows everything.
No, Freddie.
Probably the one thing that he needed to improve on was his confidence, his self-esteem. Very quiet initially in year 7, but over the year I've seen his confidence grow.
Boys' lack of confidence in literacy is perhaps most evident in many boys' struggle with essay writing and coursework.
I think the issue with writing large chunks of work for boys comes down to the boys' fear to fail. Writing a large chunk of writing takes a long time to do. And if you're not confident that it's not going to be worth it in the end, then why bother? If you're not certain that your first line starts right, then why bother writing the second? And so I think writing in itself is accumulation of boys' worries about failing, because each sentence leads to another one. And why bother spending that much time doing something if it's not going to be successful?
I believe that we are doing too much writing in schools. We do a lot of writing because we feel accountable. We sometimes use writing as control. You know, I admit it myself in the past. Some schools even use writing as punishment, you know, even today. So to imagine that we do all of this stuff and then we try and engage boys in writing, there's no wonder they're not actually engaging with it. An awful lot of boys think that a lot of the writing they're asked to do is fairly irrelevant and meaningless. And, you know, I, for one, am behind them, you know. If you're copying something from a board and from a book, you can just see that boy. Why should I copy that down, you know? I know what it is. The kinds of things they throw up, you know, teachers will recognise this. You ask them to write, OK, what's the first thing they say? Can I go to the toilet? You know, have you got a pen? How much do we have to write? You know, do we have to write on both sides? Do we have to copy out the question? Do we have to copy it out in neat? You know, all of that stuff. All of the barriers they're throwing up themselves to the writing. There's a history going way, way back in terms of that.
Tom's trying to organise himself more efficiently by developing a study plan for his outstanding coursework and forthcoming exams.
Trying to work out the study plan. Thought I'd start off by writing down all my subjects, what I've got to do and when I've got to do it by, so I can see if I can transfer that into a timetable.
Have you read that book?
Have you read what all the things to research are? They're nothing to do with my final product. Breathe.
There's a questionnaire, which is
not research.
Of course it's. What do you think it is if it isn't research?
It's a questionnaire.
Thomas, what's a questionnaire for?
Finding stuff out.
And which is?
Research.
The whole idea is to research it, to develop it, and produce a final piece.
Yes, but
listen to me. Listen to me.
I know what you don't say, though.
Well, you don't leave out loads of the work, and then get to the final piece, do the final piece, and then go back and do the research and the rest of the bits and pieces to go with it. Thomas, whatever you say, you don't do that. Okay?
No, I know, but that's what my teacher wants me to do.
I would like them to have the whole experience of university.
And the benefits.
And the benefits of a good education, because they need a good education more these days than we did, I think.
Thomas!
No, listen to me.
No,
Dad.
you listen to me. You can do it because it's stuff you can do at home.
But I'm making the final product at the moment in school, so...
Thomas, how can you be making the final product when you don't even know what it's supposed to look like because you haven't done the research?
I know exactly what I want it to look like.
Thomas, you haven't even done the questionnaire on your prototype yet.
No,
how can you possibly know what your
has.
final product is going to be? I can see so much of myself in Thomas that I don't want him to make the mistakes that I made, which is probably why I'm so...
passionate
I
about...
don't know whether it's passion, but I'm determined to do everything I can to make sure he doesn't underachieve like I think I did when I was at school. Because I was very similar to Thomas, and I think that's why perhaps we clash sometimes. Do you understand what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about, but we're making the final product in school
Thomas,
at the moment.
Your teacher, if that is the case, has got it completely wrong. The whole idea is to work up to a final product, not do it and work back. And if he's doing that, he's wrong.
But he doesn't care whether the work's actually...
Thomas, I care. I don't care.
It doesn't matter. I'll still get my grade.
I don't care what your teacher says in that respect. If he doesn't care that you don't do it properly, I do.
If I have to cram it all in before the 27th, I'm not going to get the grade I need.
Thomas,
I'm not going to.
You need to do it to get the grade.
No, yeah, I will do it. If I have to cram it in before the 27th, I'm not going to manage to get the grade I want.
So what's the significance of the 27th then?
It's the date he wants our final book.
Thomas, in that case, you've got a lot of work to do before the 27th.
Back at St Aloysius College, things are a little less heated.
I've been in this school for 20 years and spoke with parents about how they should play a more active role in their children's education. I would say, however, what I've learned is the most important aspect to a child's education is the school. If you can guarantee that you've got a calm, safe, learning environment where children want to learn, where teachers can teach, where the children become aspirational, where they can see success taking place from their older peers, that becomes the most important factor in a child's educational performance. The one consistent factor in often quite an inconsistent life is the school. The teachers are always here on time. The teachers are always in the same place during the day. There's a consistency and a stability that simply doesn't exist in a lot of households these days, unfortunately, and children respond to that.
I believe the Double Club has a bigger impact than just on a boy's literacy and numeracy skills. I mean, obviously, it is vitally important that these boys leave school with good literacy skills and good numeracy skills. However, there are other life skills that are probably even more important. I mean, being able to communicate with somebody is vitally important. Being confident is important, so that when you leave school, being able to go to get a job interview, raise your own family, these are skills that are probably far more important than literacy and numeracy. But they are a little bit forgotten, I mean, with the way governments are now, and it's all about exam results. Looking at tables, looking at English, maths and science. How do you measure if a boy's improved his self-esteem?
I think there are lots of self-esteem issues with boys, far more than we're conscious of as a staff, far more than probably parents are conscious of within their own boys. I think that boys are very afraid to fail and will not do things because they don't want to fail at it and they don't want to be seen to fail, but also because they want to be seen to be achieving without an awful lot of effort.
One of the consequences of thinking with multiple intelligences is that you see everyone is intelligent. So it's no longer, you guys are intelligent because you've got that score and the rest of us aren't because we didn't quite make the grade. Now everybody can be seen as intelligent because of what they're good at. So you think about self-esteem, nobody's stupid anymore, nobody's thick. We are all actually clever in different ways.
They spend a lot of time with one another. Therefore, they feel part of this group, they feel secure, they feel that they can trust, and then what that means is that, for example, standing up in front of a group, they've got enough confidence to do that.
Pens are down, and your full attention is given to the person that's talking. We're not reading nothing, we're concentrating on the person that's speaking. And that shows respect for them, and it shows that you're interested. Who wants to volunteer to go first? Good lad. Brave to go first. So, we're going to clap, okay? Borak's going to come up, he's going to introduce himself, and he's going to talk about the 10 things that he loves about football. And at the end of that, there may be an opportunity for you to ask any questions. And the way we do that is we raise our hand. And when
Mrs. Thomas is a good teacher because, he don't really tell you off a lot. And he's not really strict. And the other good thing is if you're good, then he'll waste some of his spare time to take to a match. So that's why I like him.
What is happening? Even better than that. It is Arsenal v Tottenham, biggest game of the season. Yeah? North London derby. I will be getting some tickets for that. Just listen. Think about it. The first ever North London derby at the Emirates, yeah?
This afternoon I'll go to an Arsenal match in the new Emirates Stadium. It's going to be a brilliant game and I think Arsenal are going to win.
As part of the Double Club, boys are strategically selected for Arsenal match tickets. These motivational rewards also help teachers connect with the boys as individuals.
Well, some of the teachers really don't know the difference between one class and the next one student, and the next we're just a bunch of kids sitting in a room. But to some of my teachers, to my art teacher, she really, really believes in me and what I can do.
Boys are the best barometers of good teaching, and if they don't see a sense and purpose in doing something, they're not going to do it.
If the teacher looks bored and if they get too frustrated about not much, just rolls it off like, yeah, I do this every single day and I don't want to tell another group of students the same thing, and it
although, yeah, I can appreciate that is probably true, but we need to be interested in it, and if she's not, then we can't really be.
I think inspired teachers inspire children. Thomas's science teacher was a perfect example of that. He taught them what he had to teach them, and he taught them more besides. And he was very interested in what he taught. That obviously came across in his teaching. And there are other teachers like that in the school.
I need to assess your performance, though.
The challenge for teachers here is to identify what these particular pupils are good at, what they're likely to engage with, and then, without overloading themselves, to find experiences and material, subjects that, are going to stimulate that interest.
You can see that it's so easy for boys to go off the rails and to be perceived negatively in society as well for who they are. And when you come to a group of boys that feel that they're proud of what they're doing, that feel that they're achieving, that feel that they're successful and can see somewhere to go afterwards, they can be the light of your day as opposed to the boy that sits in the corner throwing things at someone. They really can be something amazing.
My study plan is working. I've achieved something. Maybe.
Feels like I have. Feels like I've got some work done. What do you think of the new hairdo?
I think one of the greatest gifts that we could give to boys as they come through the education system and come out the other end into the world of work is to give them a sense of who they are, a sense of self-esteem, a sense of where they're going, a sense of what they're good at and what they could achieve in their lives, and more practically a sense of how they learn best, knowledge of how they tick, the experiences they're going to need to seek out if they want to become better at certain things.